Hi everyone, it's a beautiful day. Welcome to part 5 of repotting my larch bonsai forest. Today I'm going to be adding all the landscape elements to the planting. Rocks, moss, hills, and that kind of thing. I'm going to start in the left front corner of the planting. I had a rock here. The path goes around this first tree here. And I had a rock here to kind of make the path look like it's on a bit of a rocky cliff. So that rock got kicked away by a bird and I don't think I ever found it. So I'm going to replace it with another rock. There's one here that I think would look quite good if I plant that in the corner and then build the path up. I'm trying different rocks in here to try and get something that matches nicely. I don't like this one because it's not on the right angle. It just doesn't fit in very well. After a lot of searching around, I found probably these two combinations of rocks work the best for my pathway. So I've got to set them in. Right now they're sitting a little high. So I will get my root rake and just sort of settle the rocks in here. About there. And this one to maybe thinking about there. I could put a couple of little rocks in the front here just to, you know, give a stone wall to the edge of my pathway as it sweeps around the number 1 tree. That would look pretty good. These rocks are things you can always look for as you're, you know, taking walks and that. And you can always, if you find a nicer stone, you can always replace your stones in your planting with ones you like better later on. I think adding one more stone here will do the trick. So we'll put it right there, and then we'll start building up the pathway. In the next step, I'm going to start to rough the path in. So I'm going to create a flat path that goes around the front of this tree, and then it has to disappear off into the distance back here. And we'll have our steps here. That'll give us a change of terrain. I've scraped off some new moss. This came from the sidewalk out front. It's in full sun, but it's humid in the cracks, so it grows really well. So I'm just going to soak it in water. That makes it nice and pliable to put on around my rocks and create my pathway. So the pathway is going to be fairly flat in this area. So I'm going to use this new moss for my pathway. Just kind of pushing it down, getting rid of any large chunks of the composted fir bark wherever necessary. And you kind of got to sculpt it around the roots and make sure it's all settled in place. It's just like your trees. If you have air gaps underneath the moss, it just doesn't grow well. It doesn't get moisture. So I'll soak another piece. And I'll put that in here. The only reason I'm using this new moss is it has a nice, you know, clay backing to it, which really molds to the shape of this bonsai soil. And I'll soak another piece. And I'll start filling in around the rocks. So just getting little tiny pieces and fitting it in around the cracks of the rocks. In the end, you don't want any bonsai soil showing, or it'll spoil the illusion of a giant forest. We don't want any moss overhanging the lip of the pot. We want it back in. So we're just going to fit little pieces all around the rocks. Scrape some of that soil away. and fit pieces in there. There's a little tiny piece to go in here, like that. And we'll go around this rock at the front here, just like fitting a jigsaw puzzle together. This nice loose bonsai soil requires a lot of watering, and larches especially like a lot of water. So you're always watering this planting, and it keeps the moss looking really good. It is hard in the hot, dry days of summer to keep your moss looking green and healthy, but that's part of summer. Once fall comes and the cooler weather and more rain, the moss starts to green up again and look really good. So your moss has seasonal changes just like your trees. So you can see we're starting to get a nice miniature look to the corner. Make sure it's all nice and firmly pressed down, making good contact with the bonsai soil. And I'm going to give it a water. There's the front corner down at eye level, so I'll give it some water. Make sure everything's settled in nicely. Nothing's going to dry out. There we go. I'm going to remove all the clothes pegs from the tops of the trees. They've done their job. I'm going to start transferring some of the rocks and the moss bushes and some of the major elements from the last planting onto this planting to locate them, get my terrain heights right before I start filling in the rest of the moss. I've got the duplicate pot in front of our forest so I can see where all the rocks were positioned and transfer them back accordingly. I'm going to start with my large bush here. So this was one of the elements towards the back of the forest. I have moved the trees around slightly in position, so it's not going to be exactly how it was before, but hopefully it'll be better. So there's those bushes roughly positioned, and then I've got a rock here that I had somewhere positioned about here, I believe. I think it was maybe even further back. And I have a rock from up front here. These are two new rocks. I'm not sure I'll use them or not, but I'm keeping them on hand. I had another rock here that defined the hill. And then I had my steps positioned stepping up in height here, somewhere around here. I'm just placing them approximately for now. I had a rock up on the hill here. I haven't built the hill up yet, but and there was another rock right in here. Kind of went alongside this one. Actually, I think I'm going to move that one slightly forward. I like rock kind of steps. It looks good in a planting. I think I will keep these rocks over on this side, and the rock that was there, I'm going to put it over on the hill here, and I think that'll create a nice element for the hill. Not sure how I'll place it yet, but somewhere around there. It'll give that hill more of a rocky look to it. Yeah, that'll look good. And I'm not sure about the exact layout here yet. This one may go on the hill also here. Help build that hill up. The buds on the trees are getting greener every day. So all that energy stored in the tree for the winter is coming out now. It's developing the leaves. And then once they come out, the green leaves will feed the roots and it'll develop a new root system. So care is going to be critical for this forest in the next month or so. I want to keep it out of the wind. I want to keep it nice and stable so the roots can grow in the soil, and probably by midsummer everything will be well established and there'll be no worries. I'm playing around with various elements. I've added a fairly large rock to the top of the hill here. I think that'll look better. Like I've said before, with these landscapes, you can try different things. And if you find you don't like it in a couple of weeks, you can change it around again. Nothing's set in stone. So I'm going to try a few options through here. I've moved a rock back on the right-hand side here. I'll play around, I'll add some more moss and see how things are looking. I would like to add more rocks to the front of the planting here to make it look more like a cliff face. So I'm going to look around for some more small rocks for the front here. I found a rock that I think will work for my face of my cliff here. If I can just get it in here. I'll have to clear out some soil. I think it'll give a good foundation for the base of my stairs here too. I think that location will be pretty good. I'll try filling that in. I'll get some soil back in over here. And we'll start getting some moss in that area. This is moss from the previous planting, previous layout. Yeah, I think that's giving it a good solid feel to the path. This is kind of like the sketching stage of a painting, where you're kind of composing and trying ideas out. And when you get it all roughed in, then you start your detail work. Yeah, I like that. I like the rocks in the face of the planting. Right up front there, it gives a nice solid look to the pathway. The steps look nice. They're looking good. The pathway going back from the steps towards the back of the planting definitely needs some work, but we'll work on that. And the hill, well, keep working on the hill. It's been about an hour. I've got a lot of stuff roughed in. I've still got a long way to go, but it's slowly getting there. It's quite different from last time. I've made it more of a mountain type scene. Everything's a little higher in the pot, and I really like it. I think it's a better look for the forest. It makes everything look more rugged, and yeah. So I'm going to keep working away at it, refining all the details, covering up all that bonsai soil, and hopefully get a nice looking landscape in the end. Much of the work is done now on the planting, at the front of the planting anyway. I am going to have to turn the forest around and start working on the back. Let's go in and have a look at the details now. Here's a pan of the landscape. So it's changed a little bit from before. Like I said, you know, as I study it over the next weeks or summer, I may find things that I want to change. Maybe some things look better before. Maybe some things look better now. Who knows? Here's an overhead shot of it. Let's see some of the work at the very back that I still have to finish. There's our pathway. There's the bushes at the back. We'll be adding more of those, I'm sure. Here's a shot looking up at the hill. The hill's not as big as last year, but I think I like it better being rocky like that. I've still got lots of details to refine on my forest floor, but this concludes the 5-part series on repotting my larch bonsai forest. So thanks for watching. Nigel Saunders of KW Bonsai. We'll see you next time.